Hello, everybody, and welcome to stage one here at CreatorIQ Connect. I hope you're having a great day so far. My name is Sally Berkery. I'm the Managing Director of CEW UK, and I'm delighted to be moderating this session, which will discuss the hot topic of beauty without borders, local relevance in a global market. It's well known that everybody loves beauty, but as our session description highlights, what beauty signifies can be vastly different depending on where you are in the world. Think about the contrast between markets such as Dubai and Dublin. For brands operating across the diverse and complex EMEA region, understanding these intricate cultural nuances is absolutely key to building relevance and connection with customers. Today, I'm very lucky. All I have to do is ask the questions. We have an incredible panel of leaders from beauty brands who are navigating this challenge every day, and they're going to be sharing their insights on how they achieve local relevance, how they leverage the power of creators, manage brand identity within large structures, and effectively share learnings across their organizations. We won't have time for questions at the end, but of course you can come and ask them. They're going to be here afterwards. Without further ado, please join me in welcoming our amazing panelists. Lizzie Aston, Senior Director of Global Communications and Collaborations at DECIEM, Mary Shields, Global Communications Director at GHD, and Sarah Staniford, previously GM at Huda Beauty. Let's get into it, ladies. We're perfectly kind of colour coordinated, we'd like to say. It's like we're in a band. So let's start with the foundational challenge around local insight and cultural nuances. Given that beauty means very different things across the EMEA region, as we noted with the examples such as Dubai and Dublin, it seems a good starting point to look at different cultural definitions of beauty across EMEA and what local authenticity looks like in practice. I think, Sarah, I'll start with you. It feels like the obvious starting point because you've worked with one of the most globally recognized beauty brands with strong roots in the Middle East. How did you approach adapting Huda Beauty's voice to resonate authentically across different EMEA markets without losing the identity of the brand?
I think Huda is such a powerful and fearless brand. It's really about not dulling that down and not dulling that shine. It's just making sure that you pick those really culturally relevant moments to expand and really kind of shout about it. So for us, it's always been about that. It's not about losing the brand's voice. It's not about dulling her shine or anything. It's about picking the exact right time in the market to talk about it and make it lots of fun, basically.
And Lizzie, DECIEM obviously is a very, very strong value-led brand, but you operate in so many markets. How do you approach understanding local beauty ideals? And can you share an example of where local insight meaningfully shaped your approach in a campaign or a collaboration? I know there are probably many.
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. I think we're such a values-driven brand, and it is so important and integral to our strategy that actually the purpose story is there before the products are on the shelves. So we use earned media a lot. 90% of our strategy is earned, and we go there before the products arrive. So the comms strategy is super robust. We start building communities years in advance before we launch in the markets. And then we'll connect with the commercial teams and work out the assortment. I think it's really important not just to have a new market playbook or toolkit. We don't have that, hilariously, but we will look at the market and we use, instead of the well-known search engine, we use Reddit and TikTok to find out what the concerns are. Like, the DNA of us at The Ordinary is a solutions-based brand. So if we don't have a solution to that consumer, then we're not doing our job. And I think a really good example is when we launched in India in 2022, and we had all the best sellers, the assortment was ready, the marketing campaign was built. And actually, near a launch, there was a concern that came out around congestion and under-eye circles. And so we pivoted really quickly with the products, got rid of some of the best sellers, and made sure we focused on the product that was for the consumer there. So yeah, it's very much like listening, social listening. We sit in the DMs, we sit in the captions the whole time.
Seems to be what a lot of people are saying at the moment. And practically speaking, what does local authenticity look for your teams? Is it language? Is it casting? Is it cultural moments? Or something deeper? Maybe Mary, I don't know if you want to
I think it really,
hop in there.
hi everyone, first of all. It really is all of the above. And I think most importantly as well, it's putting trust in your local teams. Like, they've been employed for a reason. They are the experts in local relevance in their region and what's culturally trending in the region as well. So putting trust in them and empowering them to make the right decisions, choose the right influencers that will really communicate your brand messages in the right way in those regions.
And Sarah, anything to add there?
I think I agree. All the same things. It's really just about making sure that you amplify it really sort of locally and taking that global message and spreading it in the right way.
Yeah. So we are at CreatorIQ Connect Europe today, after all, and we know that creators are a critical part of the go-to-market strategy. So let's now dive into about how you select the right voices to represent your brand in diverse markets. I know we've been discussing this backstage. So Mary, at GHD, how do you identify and select creators in different regions who not only represent your very strong brand well, but also bring local credibility? How does that happen? Yeah.
Okay, so at GHD, we are obsessed with creators. We love creators. We work with over 10,000 every year across all of our global markets. And the most important thing for us when we're looking at creators is authenticity, like making sure that we work with creators who love our brand, who use our brand, who can authentically communicate key messages to consumers. That is like the number one most important thing for us. And then also following on from that, it's long-term partnerships. So we don't want to do partnerships with creators that are a one-off, that are just a commercial deal, or they talk about us and then next month they're talking about a competitor. For us, that authenticity and that long-term partnership piece really sit together. So we always look to work with creators on a long-term basis, making sure that everything they're communicating is authentic and trusted by the consumers as well that are listening to them. I think another piece as well for GHD is the professionals. So we really rely on the professional ambassadors, so that's professional hairstylists, to convey our messages. Obviously, they are so trusted. They have incredible expertise. So really leaning upon them to communicate and share their trusted voices and opinions. I think it's all of the above that really ensures that we can pick the right creators who will effectively convey our messages across all regions.
Fantastic. And Lizzie, you work on global comms and collaborations. I don't know how you do it all. How do creators help translate your brand's messages into something meaningful for the different local audiences around the world?
I think in essence for us, we actually give full creative control to our creators. For us, they're not only our amplifiers, they're our cultural translators. They know their audience way better than any central brand ever will. And so for us, we will give them the messaging essence. We will, invite them to see our values and understand our DNA. And then from there, how we give them the empowerment to come up with the content that's going to resonate well with their audience. A lot of our influencer partnerships have been around for decades. Like, our team, and I can see some of them here, they have personal relationships with those creators. They've probably come to our Canadian HQ. They've probably been at every PR event. They've tried product after product, and that is pure, building rapport over time. And I think if it's not right for them, then it's also not going to be right for us. So it takes a while. I think back to what you were saying about authenticity, it will always be that. And you talk about hair professionals. We very much look at the formulator space and expert scientists as well.
Yeah, because I think your chief scientist is kind of a celebrity in herself. We've had her on the
He's
stage.
now a TikTok celebrity, yeah, I think so, with his giant glycolic acid.
Yeah, which is fantastic. Sarah, have you had, with Huda Beauty and your previous esteemed career across lots of different brands, have you had an experience where a creative partnership has helped unlock a market or shifted local perception for the brand?
I think it's not been about one specific creator for the market. It's really about, we just did something recently with Huda in Milan. So we hadn't really been to that market before. We'd not really kind of touched upon it, and we actually took Huda there. And we touched every single point that we could. So we met with the retailer, we took Huda to meet with the retailer, we went into the stores, we did the store visits, we spent time with the store teams, but we also did huge events with creators. So we brought them from across Europe to Milan, and then we also worked with very, very local influencers, so and kind of ABC tier. And made sure that every touch point that we had with them felt really, really personal. So we would bring in, the kind of top tier creators, have them have one-on-ones with Huda, which was obviously incredible. They felt super special, really taken care of. Then we would have kind of the next wave who would come in and they would get the event side of things. So they would still get to experience the same space. And then by the afternoon or the evening, we would kind of open it up to every level. So everyone felt like they had that really personal touch point. Huda was there throughout the entire thing. and they all got to see that same space. And I think that's what's really important to them as well, is that they're taking the same pictures, the same images in the same space as the ones who they're really sort of looking up to. So I think it's just about making sure that everyone feels super special when you're dealing with them. And so it's not about that one creator that's really kind of turned the dial. It's about all different waves of creators and making sure that everyone feels like they've had that really personal moment.
I don't know how she does what she does, Huda. She's always online. I was just saying, I messaged her last year. I had to ask her a question about something, and she came back within 2 minutes. I was just like, God, I deliberated for ages over this text I was sending to her, and then she came straight back. And so it's an amazing thing to work with founders and such great people. So let's talk about so all of you, you work on powerhouse global brands where consistency is absolutely critical. So I think it'd be helpful to the audience for us to discuss how do you balance a consistent global identity, creating campaigns that truly resonate with local audiences, and also what happens inside these global organizations? How do you make it work so fluidly? I guess, Mary, let's come to you. I mean, GHD has a very consistent, premium, universally known global identity, I would say. How do you still allow for kind of culturally, locally tailored campaigns?
Well, I'd say overall it's all about consistent branding, but then with your localized adaptations. So at GHD, we're very lucky. We have a very strong, powerful brand. We have a very strong tone of voice as well, which sets us apart from our competitors. So we really lean into that with all of our comms. Whenever we launch a campaign, we do allow regions to locally adapt the campaign, but everyone must launch with the global assets first. So on the day of launch, we would expect all websites, all socials to be sharing the same core global assets for launch, and that is definitely for the first few weeks of launch. And then after those few weeks, when the core assets are out there and the campaign has fully launched globally, that's where we then allow the markets to tailor locally. So that's where they could bring in their local creators and they can adapt the campaigns to make sure they are locally relevant and really engaging with local consumer audiences. But I think the most important thing is to make sure that the core brand messaging is there and that is communicated first and foremost.
Fantastic. Sarah, with Huda, working in a fast-moving company, how do you manage the tension? Tension is the wrong kind of word. How do you mention that kind of pull between a global team and a local team? I've worked in publishing in the past where we had local editions, global editions, and it's tricky. Like how does that happen kind of smoothly?
It's not without its, excitement. But I've been lucky. I've been on both sides of the coin. So I've been on a global level and I've been at a local level. So I've heard both sides of the conversation as well, where you have the global team saying, why are the local team not executing exactly how we told them? And the local team saying, why on earth are the global team sending us this? It makes no sense. So I think it's really about having open conversations, removing ego, and understanding that the global team tend to know the brand the best, very, very well. And the local teams know the market. So it's making sure that you really are both listening to each other, and you do have that push and pull. You always have that push and pull. But it's just about making sure that you have relevant and consistent conversations and just keep the flow of communication really open and making sure that you actually take some feedback on board from both sides.
This is a rogue question. Sorry to throw you. How often do global and local teams meet? What does that look like? Is it weekly? Is it monthly? What's the cadence? I just am curious to know.
We do every 2 weeks is what we sort of tend to do. We've done it weekly before, but I feel like every 2 weeks kind of gives you something to actually talk about, gives you a little bit of time to reflect. And I think also having those constant conversations and not just doing it when there's a big event or when there's a big moment, it keeps that communication flowing and it makes sure that you constantly have that kind of follow-up and you feel a bit more connected, I think, is probably the best way to do it.
Oh my gosh, what was that?
Oh, it's that light. It's smoking now.
Do you need to stop? It's smoking a little bit, but I don't think it's on fire.
Wasn't that good of an answer.
Should I move
Fine.
it?
It's fine. Do you want to come and have a look? Okay, fine. Okay. Nothing to see here. We're all good. We're all good. Mary, I think you're fine. But also, Mary, you've worked on a local scale and a global. You've sort of seen both sides of the track.
Yes.
Now you're in that global role. Do you kind of control the kind of cadence of the meetings? How does that work at GHD?
We do. I think from a global perspective, we have quarterly deployment meetings at GHD. So we'll get together all of the regional teams, all of the regional MDs every quarter, and we'll deploy what's coming up for the following few months. So that's more global, presenting back to the local markets. We then have a monthly connect, 1 hour Teams call with every region every month, just to deep dive on what they're doing. Less of a formal agenda meeting and more just a chance for us all to discuss the strategy, what's working, what's not working, what can we do more to support the regional teams, and just to make sure that we are all collaborating as much as possible, because the last thing we want to do is be seen as global, as the ones that just dictate what has to be done and not listen to the regional teams. We all have to collaborate and work together. It's so important.
Yeah.
And I've worked regionally in the UK, and I've obviously worked globally now as well. So I know the pain points across both. So we try and make sure it works as smoothly as it can.
Yeah.
And I think it does work nicely at GHD.
And so, obviously best practice is so important if it's going to make these kind of global systems work. What's the one thing teams can do well when it comes to sharing local insights across borders? And one pitfall, if you don't mind, to be avoided. I don't know if anybody wants to volunteer that. Maybe Lizzie?
Yeah, I can. We're the same. I actually think the crucial part is regional telling global what wasn't right. And I think sometimes, regions are waiting for global, but actually more so the feedback loop should be based on what didn't work from the campaign that global set in that region. And we have so many examples where that doesn't work. And I think a time to avoid, and an example I can use is when we assume that a really strong local campaign is going to be able to be scaled globally successfully. And a couple of months ago, I don't know if anyone saw, but we launched eggs in the US.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And it was wild and wonderful, but went back to our values, we're about price integrity, we're about transparency, and we're about doing the right thing when the right thing feels right. And New York needed us right then. But if we were then to go and do that in Australia, it would make absolutely no sense. And I think what you need to look at is not then measuring your success on that one campaign. For us, we call those energy moments. So they sit outside of the brand calendar, they sit outside of product launches, and it's like, let's do a little energy moment and boost it. And we do way more of those now than we ever have. So I think the takeaway is regions tell global more what's not working.
I like the energy moments.
I love that. I'm going to steal that. I'm stealing that.
Bottom of the brand calendar, energy moments.
Nice.
Yeah, definitely. Anything else that either of you would like to add to that? No? Okay. We're coming quite close to the end. This is flying by. So we're going to have those sort of dreaded crystal ball moments, which I know, having been on a panel before, I just hate those questions because it's impossible to predict the future. So I think to all of you, where do you see beauty narratives evolving fastest across EMEA? And what role do you feel creators and local culture play in shaping that future? Maybe let's just start with Sarah.
I think, for me, it's the UK. I feel like the UK pick up on trends so quickly, also very quick to drop them. So it's important not to put too much energy and too much time and focus on these kind of micro trends, I think, that come up. React to them, work with them, and let them kind of move on and have their moment. But yeah, I definitely think the UK, we take a lot of inspiration from the US, which I think is really important. And then I feel like for me, the other markets kind of take that little bit longer to catch on to the trends. They feel a little bit steadier. And so wherever I've been, kind of the strategy there has always been to work with local teams and keep it quite smooth and steady. But in the UK, it's much more reactive. And I think finding products that you already have in your portfolio to react to those trends is much more important than trying to create something quickly and turn it on. So yeah, I would definitely say for me, it's the UK.
Fantastic. Mary, let's come to you.
I'd agree with that as well from a trend perspective. And obviously we know that trends move so fast now, and influence plays such a big role in that, especially with TikTok. There's a different trend every day almost. But I suppose if we look at a different aspect of it, we see, especially across France and Germany, a real trend for consumers and creators to want to know more about sustainability of brands as well. And that's a big focus for us as well, to ensure that we have a very clear sustainability strategy, which we do, and to be communicating that to creators and to consumers, particularly across those regions, because they're asking for it, and they don't want to work with brands who don't have a clear strategy in those places. So that's definitely something that we're seeing coming through from those markets, and I'm sure all of them will follow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Sustainability for us, I mean, it's not a new thing, but it's so prevalent right now in Europe. I mean, look at Ganni, the fashion brand. They now have a permanent spot on Paris Fashion Week as a sustainable first forward company. against a haute couture backdrop. So I think sustainability is definitely what people are looking at. And interestingly, some of our key retailers, such as Sephora, they don't want the brand campaigns anymore. They don't want the creative face that we're doing globally. They want the sustainability story. And I find that so exciting.
It is, it's fantastic. Finally, this is the one. So in one sentence, I know, I'm sorry, what advice would you give to a brand trying to expand globally while staying locally relevant? Do you want to go, Lizzie?
One sentence as a comms person.
Well, you can do a few sentences, like a few sentences is fine. Just not like a really long paragraph.
I can see the time there. Just don't lose your values. If it's not a hell yeah, it's a no. Just keep hold of your values, understand your purpose, cling on to that, and let your creators in the space tell your story. Word of mouth is still one of the best marketing tactics out there. There's a quote that our founder used to say is, for 1 million people to like you, you need 1,000 people to love you. And I think it's obsess over that 1,000 when it comes to community building.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mine is very similar. It's very much stay true to your brand values. Really stick to them, and then also spend the time finding the right creators to communicate your messages regionally. It's so important to find the right people who can authentically communicate about your brand.
Fantastic.
I think mine is think globally but act locally. So similar, I think everything we've already been talking about. Create your campaigns and set them globally, but then work with agencies or partners in the right regions to really, teach that story exactly as you should do culturally.
Fantastic. Well, thank you. I'd like to thank my amazing panelists today. The time is nearly up, so it's flown by. I think we felt like we were going to be here for hours, but actually we've had drama. It's gone by quickly. I'd like to thank Mary, Lizzie, and Sarah Stanner for joining me here at CreatorIQ Connect Europe. You were brilliant. Thank you very much indeed.
Thanks, Sally.
Thank you. And thank you to Connor and the team for trusting me with the mic. I promise it wasn't me that did that. And thank you all for joining us at this session. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.